Gonna slate. Welcome to Stormin Chocolate. I'm Stormin Norman. This week is song number 5, which is Never Been Any Reason by the band Head East from their album Flat as a Pancake. As I start this video, I didn't know anything about the song. All I know is my interpretations of it and that I just love the song to death. It's just an amazing, hard-driving, mid-70s rock and roll song, and it's absolutely fabulous. The song starts with a bang, with drums, guitar, and synthesizer, and there's just this cacophony right at the beginning. It's almost like an overture where the synth is going down and then it's going back up and it's going down, and this goes on for about 15 seconds of what I termed a cacophony. After the 15 seconds, everything kind of stops, and then the synth starts to arpeggiate down, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and then the driving beat comes in, da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, and this is just a great start to a song. I can't name any other songs off the top of my head that start with this great driving rhythm. I mean, Corazon, which was the song that we did just before this, starts with a consistent, beat, as I described in that video, but this is more rock and roll. This really grabs you and it just kind of starts moving you. So after a couple of bars of this driving rhythm, and it's actually playing, it's not consistent, so there are some changes in there. We get the first stanza, and what you hear is kind of a challenge and response, where the first 2 lines or the first 4 lines, depending on where you put your commas, are from a male protagonist, and then the last 2 lines or 4 lines are from a female protagonist. So there's this kind of conversation that's going on between them, and this is what the first stanza sounds like.
Did you see any action? Did you make any friends? I've been walking behind you since you've been able to see.
So without any additional information, for the longest time, what came to me is I thought that this is a soldier who had been drafted for the Vietnam War is talking to his girlfriend who's stuck stateside, and maybe he comes over for a break before he has to go back over. And I was happy with that conversation. There are a lot of things in the song that make sense. If you listen very detailedly, there are some things that don't make sense. Like, for example, the first line, where the male says, "Did you see any action?" Well, that's not something a guy wants to ask his girlfriend. It's more like the other way around, where the girlfriend says, "Oh, you've been in a war zone. Did you see any action, or were you stuck in the barracks, cooking food because you're a cook or something?" So that doesn't actually follow. But the rest of it is kind of logical. For example, where the female part sings, "I've been walking behind you since you've been able to see." Well, that's very much a female kind of argument or complaint that you would say. So that kind of makes sense. And generally speaking, my interpretation does make sense, enough to enjoy the song. Now, one of the things I love is in the last sentence that is sung by the female part, the first part of that is, "There's never been any reason." The whole band comes in and sings that. You heard that a couple seconds ago. And that's the only place that the title of the song appears. It's not in the chorus, it's actually in the verses, in the stanzas. That appears in every single stanza. So that's kind of fun. I like the way that it's mixed up. I do like those semi-Easter eggs or bald-faced Easter eggs where the title of the song appears someplace that you don't really expect it to be. And to me, this is an example of that case. The second and the third stanzas continue the conversation. There is no chorus after the first stanza. So it's a stanza, then kind of a lead synth solo, then the second stanza, and then the chorus after that. And then we have an extended synthesizer solo, which is much more involved. And then we have the third stanza, and then a final chorus and the finale at the end of the song. So it's not very traditional, but it works. It's very well crafted or very well performed. So the chorus itself gives the listener a bit of a respite between the heated discussions between the two parties. And so that's kind of good. The chorus is mainly sung from the man's perspective, but it is the entire band that is singing the chorus. And, he's trying to provide excuses for his behavior and his position, but it doesn't sound like it's all that much. It's working all that well. He's not given her enough excuses to hang around. And that's kind of where the chorus leaves us. As I mentioned before, the lead synth solo, after the first chorus, before the third stanza, it's long and it's extended and it's really great. And it kind of ends with a couple of glissandos on the synth, back and forth, up and down. And then it, comes back into the third stanza full speed ahead. The third stanza ends with 3 repetitions of the line, "There's never been any reason," in order to hammer that point home. After the first instance of that line, there's this tricky drum part where it's a syncopated beat with other things in there. You have to hear it. But it's one of those play along at home kind of things where you try to, match the beat of it. And, when it comes in, there's this doubled cymbal crash at there. You got to get it right. Otherwise, you're going to play the song again until you do get it right. So that's one of the fun things for me, the play along with this particular beat. And then after that, there's 2 more repetitions of the line, "There's never been any reason." And then after that, we get everything goes quiet. And then we actually hear the real chorus there. And besides the vocalists who are singing all of the lines, all you hear is the bass. It's kind of like a bass solo with vocals in here. Yes, you do hear a couple of cymbal taps, not really keeping time, just to make sure that the drummer is still awake, and you get signs of life. And then there's a couple of, twang, 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 guitar twangs that are in there. And then at the end of the chorus, the whole band comes back in and just, does the outro where they're singing.
Save my life, I'm going down for the last time.
So after the chorus is sung, the last line of the chorus is, of course, "Save my life, I'm going down for the last time." And then that just gets repeated, through the rest of the song. That's repeated 5 more times until the song, suddenly ends. There's a drum roll and brop, and then that's the end of the song. And so not only is it an abrupt beginning to the song, it's an abrupt ending of the song. And I kind of like that, occasionally mixing it up. And I wish my iTunes was smart enough to recognize when songs start at an abrupt beginning, like this particular song, and not have a fade in. And when you crossfade between the two, it understands songs that have that kind of characteristics, as opposed to like King of Hollywood, which starts very slow. And that has a fade in, and you can fade out a previous song that way. But with songs that have, abrupt beginnings and abrupt end, you want to abut that to something else that has an abrupt beginning or an abrupt end. So one of my wishes for iTunes shuffle capability. So the song was used in a soundtrack in 1993. It was used in Dazed and Confused, the Richard Linklater movie. And I may have heard it there. I didn't hear this song. I didn't watch that movie when it first came out. I watched it later on video someplace. So I'm not sure if I heard it there or if I just heard it over college radio, which, it was all over the radio in the 80s as being a very awesome classic rock song. Or I may have heard it in, the 90s when I started working in the Bay Area on the classic rock stations. But it's just a wonderful song, and it's really kind of lasted the test of time. My belief is that it's more popular now than it was in the 70s when it first came out, and that might be a true fact. I don't know. You can write down in the comments what you think. So getting back to the real story about this, I did some research after I wrote most of the script, and on genius.com, where I found one iteration of the lyrics, they said there was commentary there, and they said, it was actually a conversation between a road musician, a traveling musician, a band member, and his lover, who is, of course, left behind. And, that kind of like sounds like it. It's a reasonable interpretation. It might be the intended interpretation, but I still kind of like mine. The wiki page says that the male part, the first half of each stanza, was sung by the drummer Steve Houston, while the female part was sung by lead vocalist John Schlitt. Mike Somerville, who wrote the song, plays lead guitar. Dan Burney plays bass, and Roger Boyd plays that awesome synthesizer, which was truly double tracked. When I first started writing the script and listened to the beginning of it, I said, when there's that arpeggiation just before the driving beat starts, it sounded double tracked. And they says, well, yeah, that's what actually happened in the recording, but it was a mistake. We were using Moog, mini Moogs, and we actually re-recorded the song, but we didn't mute the original one that we were overdubbing. And so when we played it back, we heard both of them and they sounded fantastic. And we said, okay, we're just going to make that the standard that we do the song in. So most, if not all, of the synthesizer was double tracked, or maybe just when it was in the lead part, but it does sound absolutely fantastic. So in the links down below, you can see one of the live performances. It's one that I saw a couple of years ago. And you can actually see the drummer sing the first part, and you can see the lead vocalist sing the second part. And then you have Roger Boyd come out and play, he's got a mobile synthesizer that he plays a song. And it's really good. It's a whole lot of fun. There are other recordings at different times. There's actually somebody who did a cover of the song.
Is it a guitar?
Yes, he's got a guitar.
Holy shit.
They're not that rare.
Yeah, but it's cool.
Okay. Anyway. So that's the song Never Been Any Reason by Head East from the Flatlands of America, which gave rise to the name of the album, Flat as a Pancake. Kansas, Iowa, those areas of the country are known to be flat as a pancake, which somebody did a video on and said, if you zoom into a pancake, it's not all that flat. Anyway, next time we will enter these dreams while we go straight to the heart with song number 6. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Does the outro where they're singing. What are they singing?
You never give me no answer.
Oh, that's one of the stanzas.
You're one of the stanzas.
Take my life, I'm going down for the last time. Shh. This is important.